My wish for all of us as we go into new times of turbulence and uncertainty, both out there in the big world stage and also in our own personal, intimate lives, is that we should all have within our reach a buoyancy device for when we feel like we're about to go under. Can you imagine that? A buoyancy device for your mind, your emotions, and your spirit. And it's not just a single person buoyancy device either. It's not just so that we can stay afloat, but so that we can extend a life raft to others. You know, I don't know a single person who thinks only about herself. In fact, usually when my clients ask me for help with overwhelm, it's because they want to be better for the ones that they love. There's a longing within each of us to help lift others up, and we can't do that while treading water. I discovered in the hardest times in my life that to conquer any beast, we need to look at it. We need to look at it for what it is. So I'm dedicating this evening to looking at overwhelm square in the eye and saying, what is it about you that makes me believe that I'm not capable of handling what life has arranged for me? What are you doing to me to make me forget that I can always engage mindfully and creatively and lovingly with the difficulties that lay ahead on my life's winding path? I want to know, because if I know my enemy, then it has no power over me, right? I love this quote by Oliver Wendell Holmes. He's a wonderful philosopher. Here is his words. When a resolute young man steps up to that great bully, the world, and takes it boldly by the beard, he's generally surprised to see that it comes off in his hand and that it was only tied on to scare away the timid adventurers. Just a little bit of courage to examine what it is that frightens us equals a tremendous amount of power to face our adversities and strife. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm also going to give you a tool that will take off most of the pressure off of your shoulders. This tool is a protocol that I've found incredibly useful when dealing with my life's challenges, whether the ones of immeasurable depth or even the silly little self-inflicted ones too, like self-sabotage. I know that one as well. Now, like you, I've been through incredible ordeals. There was a long period in my life where my family just went through hardship after hardship, and we couldn't really catch a break. We were homeless for a while even, you know, so I know a thing or two about overwhelm, just like you. And I know that overwhelm is a feeling that what's coming at me is bigger, faster than I can handle, like standing in a river, unable to keep my footing in the increasing current, you know, and I feel afraid of going under. Even the slightest thing, like spilled milk, is suddenly a terror. And as crazy as this sounds, this is a sign of your love. You feel this way because you care. You know, there's nothing abnormal about overwhelm. You feel this way, it feels big because you care about life. But boy, does it get in the way of your peace. So this is why I'm giving you this mindset tool that was given to me in prayer when I had no way out. And it saved my family, and I want you to have it. Now, what's really genius about it is that it's super simple to remember. It's really easy to implement, and it's energetically aligned with what it is that you have to accomplish. And when you've practiced it a few times and you've gotten really good at it, it becomes sort of embodied. It kind of lands in your heart. And then you don't have to consciously take these steps as you meet challenges on your way. You just simply start to flow through those steps automatically. So learn this protocol and practice it really well if you're about to take on a big mission, like a body reboot or a reconciliation with an estranged family member, or change your career, or help someone transition perhaps, or launch a new personal project like a book or an online course, or leaning into a whole new way of being a human in a post-pandemic world. Because you know what? There is always going to be some challenge ahead, and that's part of the deal. But you deserve to be the superhero when that time comes. You know, the natural way of the cosmos is forever more expansion. And that means pushing against the boundaries of what is. And the resistance that you feel when you're feeling overwhelmed by whatever it is that's in front of you, the thought of what's coming, that's an indication that you've met the edges of what's known for you and that you're moving in to a wider and deeper, more expansive version of your life. It does not mean that you're doing anything wrong, or that you're missing the path, or that you're not healthy or spiritual or have enough mental fortitude. It doesn't mean that you've arrived at the end of your potential, not at all. It means you've arrived at a threshold. And your mission is to move into the next step for the highest and best outcome. And the courage that it takes to lean into the challenge instead of denying it or condemning it, that's the key to moving into the next season of your life. Now, this protocol is not specific to any particular sort of challenge or another. I have my own story about what's turned up in my life as challenge. And in my work as a spiritual director and ontologist, I've sat with hundreds of students in intimate communion, and I've seen sorrow woven into so many diverse sets of circumstances that I've come to understand that difficulty is a sacred companion that we all have the opportunity to meet. Now, let me tell you some of the amazing battles that I've seen my clients win. One of them was a Marine veteran who found a method to help him deal with acute PTSD, where sudden sounds would trigger his body into combat. And there was a woman who forgave her father for dying when she was 5. Can you imagine the release? And one was a vice president of a major corporation who calmed the oppressive chatter in her mind as she knew she had to leave her career for the sake of her integrity. And one was a man who overcame an abuse cycle that was programmed into his being before he could even walk. And then there was the 90-year-old woman in the winter season of her life, coming to terms with the choices that she had made. You see, there is no end to the list of what counts as difficulty. And there's no measure in terms of how difficulty should be experienced or how it should be overcome. And here's why that is. Now, I'm not going to be speaking about the physical effect of overwhelm, but believe me, that's a very real thing, and it's very good to have a doctor's support. And nor am I talking about genetics here. Now, we know that research has found that what's recorded in the DNA as traumatic, as worthy of overwhelm, that's entirely dependent on the blood's chemistry at the time, which is why 2 people can have the same experience, but one person finds it transformative and empowering, and the other person finds it traumatic and draining, you see. So difficulty doesn't depend on circumstance, and chemistry is only a demonstration of what difficulty looks like in the physical. So no, I'm going to talk about another aspect of difficulty and overwhelm, because what I know is that difficulty in life is much more sacred than simple chemistry. We don't get to judge what level of hardship another is experiencing because we only receive such a small number of energetic data points to make our mind up. And that means that we cannot judge our own hardship as not being enough to warrant this feeling, or judging ourselves for feeling like it's all too much. We need to stop that. We cannot measure whose life is more noble out of Princess Diana, who's the epitome of privilege, or an unnamed little boy running for his life in the back alley, you know, because there is no difference. They are both the spearheads for a hero soul that is meeting the flow of life the best way that it knows how. And so as we're dealing with our challenges, as we're dancing with overwhelm through our life, stories are being told and shared and woven together into community. But no matter how well we think we know someone, the depth of another's life is a mystery. So whose hardship is hardest discussions are never fruitful because there isn't an answer. I know you have a friend who always seems to have a worse story than you. Oh, you think that was hard? You should have seen. My dad. No, instead, we direct all of our attention to our own life and we engage fully with it as our eternal companion. And the wisdom that we harvest from that is the only source of true compassion. We can only be there for someone else in their trouble if we have truly been there for ourselves in our trouble. So this protocol will come in handy as you grow more into the marvel that you're becoming. So here then is the 5-step protocol that my clients and I have used time and time again to shift a challenge, be it monumental or tiny, so that it takes on the form of an opportunity. Now, these 5 but very important steps bring you along a simple but profound mindset protocol that lifts you up from the crushing waves and has you surfing on the tide. Each step is a state of mind. You embody one state before moving on to the next. And this provides a logical, orderly elevation of your awareness to maintain right mind, right action, and right vibrational states to allow the flow of a solution and to keep your capacity to master the situation. So with grace and ease, you will be able to handle what's coming and you will come out the other side with greater sovereignty. I was really inspired by a friend of mine on Facebook today who had to make a really difficult announcement. And she had to tell the world that the wonderful thing she had been planning would not come to be yet. You know, like so many of us, she had to sacrifice something really special because of the pandemic. And these were her words. I've learned that there is no forcing outcomes, hoping and visualizing yes, but ultimately the greatest discoveries are found at the bottom of surrender. In my life, I found surrender to be the first step in this 5-step mindset protocol that now helps me handle anything. And I want to share it with you. Here we go. Step 1 is surrender. Let's imagine that the flow of life is a river and that overwhelm is the feeling of being stuck in the mud while the current is increasing. But I know where the flow is really coming from and I know where it's going because it's life, right? So it's the great unknown. So really the greatest gift is to surf on the tide of life. But for that, I need to let go of the riverbanks, the structures and the stage and the control of all the things. And when I do that, I find that the rest of the protocol comes really easily. But letting go is a craft in itself, and it takes such courage and quite a lot of practice, and you need your body's help so that your limbic system doesn't trigger you into involuntary stress response. And we can, of course, help you with that. Now, step 2, when you've managed surrender, when you've learned that craft, you need to be able to orient yourself with the flow. You need to know where you are compared to where it's going. And that's the metaphysical craft 2, a calibration. Now, step 3, now you need to lift yourself up. You need to power up. You need to get on top of the surf. You do this energetically, you do this mentally, and you do this physically. And yes, powering up is also a craft. Step 4, now you act. Now you maneuver the surfboard. You don't want to try taking on the waves of the great blue sea, all the waves of life, until this point when we're on top, because otherwise it feels like we're taking on all of the battles and we're carrying the whole weight of the world. No, we want to wait until we're on top. Now we act. Now we move forward into the challenge that lies ahead. And discerning how to move, discerning which choices will lead to the right path, that is a craft that you can learn. And finally, step 5, allow. Let the surf take you and know, trust that you are held buoyant by life herself, that there is support for you and that there are ones who can help you take some of the weight off your shoulders. I had a wonderful conversation with a client of mine this morning who's become a dear friend actually, and we shared We share the last words of the Bible. The Spirit and the bride say, come. Let everyone who hear answer, come. Let all who are thirsty come. All who want it may have the water of life and have it for free. That's Revelation 22:17. My client and I agreed that allowing that buoyancy in life is the hardest part. And sometimes we want to sink to the bottom. Sometimes we want to hold on to the riverbanks. We want the current to stop before we make the next move. We want someone just to turn off the tap for a moment. You know, allowing there to be a frequency of grace that sort of surrounds us all the time to help us lighten the yoke, allowing ourselves to adjust our mindset to know that we are capable, allowing our friends and our community experts to help when we need it, that's hard. That's tricky. Let me end this evening by saying, if you experience overwhelm or tension at the idea of going forward into the new era that you know is waiting for you, don't worry, we've got you. I know it's hard to allow help, so I'm going to make it easy. You do have what it takes, and I can help. My name is Elizabeth. I'm an ontologist, and my job is to show you how to use your mind to diffuse the obstacles before you. In our sessions together, I will hear your story, and then we will map out the 5-step protocol for dissolving overwhelm, and we'll know how to apply each step in your life to ease the burden and keep you vibrationally aloft. Not only that, but you'll also get a beautifully and eloquently woven tapestry of sound in an audio course that consists of spiritual lesson, guided meditations, and some binaural beats as well for optimized learning, and thought techniques to take with you into your deepening dance with life's many challenges. So this is a coaching journey and a listening experience like no other. In our call, you'll just snuggle up, put your headphones on, take a deep breath, soften the muscles in your neck and shoulders, and then share as much or as little as you'd like to get off your chest, and let hypnotic voice, soothing sounds, and really gentle philosophy just lift the burden from your shoulders and guide you back to your power.